and welcome to The Tall Weaver. I'm Andrew, aka The Tall Weaver, and I am starting a new project and I wanted to take you guys along with me on the journey. I saw this pattern come up in Handwoven, the summer 2025 edition, and I fell in love with it and I needed to make it. Here is the pattern. I put a good picture of this actually, but it's the Scottish Summer Scarf by Jeremy Uden. Sorry if I'm butchering your name, Jeremy. But it is a beautiful 8-shaft pattern designed to use a yarn that I'm not able to locate easily in the US, but he did specifically mention that merino lace from Hedgehog Fibres is a similar yarn. So a couple months ago when I had some friends visiting, we went out to Wool & Company in the Chicago suburbs. If you haven't been, strongly recommend. It is like yarn mecca. It's overwhelming, and just don't have a budget when you go in there because you're going to break it anyway. But I decided to buy enough yarn to make 2 of these because I could not decide which color palette I liked best, but I bought 5 skeins of Hedgehog Fibres. This is 1,200 meters, whatever that works out to be in freedom units, of merino lace, and I love it. And so this is going to be part of scarf number 2. I probably won't record that one. We'll see. But scarf number 1 is going to be interesting, and I'm totally just riffing on this pattern. So Jeremy, I'm sorry if like this totally turns out wrong, and like this is not what Jeremy recommends doing in his pattern. So I'm kind of doing my own damn thing here. But what I'm going to be doing is using 2 similar-ish color stories. Like, it doesn't show up super clearly on the cone, but in the hank it did. There's a lot of like sage and brownish in here, and this is obviously just like straight up sage with a little bit of tonality in it. So these 2 are going to be the warp, and the pattern does specifically call for like holding 2 yarns in your hand and like warping double that way. But I'm going to be using silk mohair for the weft. I just want to see what it does. Like, I've not actually woven with mohair before, and again, yarn mecca, I kind of didn't have any way to stop myself from buying a lot of mohair. So I've been in a mohair mood. I bought mohair to knit with as well. Well, whatever. But I'm excited to see how this turns out. I don't see why it shouldn't work. I mean, I might need to like beat a little looser so that this has room to breathe, but that should be fine. This is going on the spring, just for the really good tension on the lace. It should be fine on any of my looms, but I just figure the spring doesn't have anything on it either, and why not? And then I'll get to this guy in a second, but I just got my copy of Weft, the physical copy. I got the digital copy a couple weeks ago and I just didn't get around to reading it. But then I will probably not be able to find it. I should have done this in advance. Oh, no, here. Folded warps. So, I mean, this isn't a ton of ends. It's like a 24-inch wide scarf. So it's not the end of the world to like do it one at a time or like one directional, but like, why not? So I'm going to try this technique. Basically, you just put on a double length guide string, and then you have crosses at either side, and you just make sure you make crosses and then cut it in half when you're done at the exact midpoint, and then you've got 2 warp chains, which is exactly what I would want for a 24-inch wide warp. So excited to do that. And then I'll be using this beautiful, this is the 4-meter Oxabeck warping mill. I believe this was probably the last one available in the United States. I posted on Ravelry that I wanted it, or that I wanted a larger warping mill. And Sarah from Wool Gatherers mentioned that she still had one. So a friend of mine actually picked it up driving from Wisconsin down to Chicago. So ta-da, I have this beautiful, lovely 4-meter, which is insanely fast to use, and it's surprisingly stable. Let's see if anything falls off. Nope, and as you can see, it has its own momentum, which makes winding warps so much easier. And then the sharp-eyed among you might have noticed that these are not skeins of yarn. They're not cakes of yarn. They are cones of yarn. They were skeins that I then used an electric cone or cake winder to cake up. And then I transferred those cakes to these cones using the electric eel wheel cone winder. Absolutely recommend. It was like an insanely fast process, crazy easy. I want to figure out how to do it from Swift straight to cone, but obviously measuring, weaving yardage and warps off of cones, especially even for winding bobbins, it's just so much easier. So worthwhile investment. I'll splice in a video of it in process here. So yeah, I have a 7-yard guide string up on the warping mill, and I'm going to get to measuring out the warp. Checking in after a couple hours, I guess. Warp has been measured, beamed, 30 ends per inch. I got all of the tie-ups done. It took approximately half of an episode of the X-Files to do so. And yeah, I'll begin threading. Also, this is a new 3D printed accessory that I got to hold the beater up in place here out of the way. It's done. I have had it done for a few days now. I took it to a knitting stitch and bitch event to do the twisted fringe, and is there anything as luxurious as twisted fringe on a project? It's just lovely. But I'm really happy with how it turned out. It's super soft. It feels like a cloud. The beat is super, super light on it. I don't know how well you can see, but because of the mohair, I had to basically reduce the beat to half of what the pattern calls for, just because it is designed for a very tight lace. But this is mohair, so you want it to have room to like bloom and breathe. But yeah, I'm very pleased with how it turned out. I do have the yarn for another one ready to go. I just need to like cone it, measure it, and then throw it on a loom. That one's going to be going on the Megado though. I could never really get into a good rhythm. I couldn't really find, yeah, I usually think of weaving as like, I feel a rhythm. I feel like it all kind of makes sense in my head. And I could never find that rhythm with this pattern. And then I found out that Jeremy actually also uses a Megado. So it's going to go on the Megado next time instead of a treadle loom. You can absolutely do it on a treadle loom. I came up with my own like summary of like how to like make the repeats a little bit more easy to read for me. And I just had it taped on an index card on the castle. Totally doable. It got the job done. But in this case, I would say it's probably easier if you have the option of a Dobby loom or something that would help you track the treadling, like a tempo treadle system. Absolutely use that. There's no reason not to. But all that being said, I'm going to be wearing the hell out of this all winter. This is my new personality. Be prepared. Good luck, good weaving, and I'll catch you all in the next one.